NASA may have found life on Mars in 1976. Not water, not fossils, life. And then buried the result. On July 30th, 1976, 11 days after Viking 1 landed on the rust-red plains of Chryse Planitia, Gilbert Levin stood inside a NASA control room, watching numbers crawl out of a printer. The signal was coming from Mars. 200 million miles away, a robot had scooped Martian soil into a sealed chamber and fed it radioactive nutrients, sugars, amino acids, carbon-14. The test was simple. If anything alive was in that soil, even a single microbe, it would eat, breathe, and release radioactive gas. The numbers began to rise. Then they spiked. Then they kept rising. Levin looked at the data and later described what he felt in 2 words. We did it. For thousands of years, Mars had been more than a planet. It was a question hanging in the night sky. A red world, humans filled with canals, cities, monsters, and civilizations. But by 1976, imagination had become engineering. NASA had built Viking, 2 orbiters, 2 landers, and the most ambitious robotic search for life ever sent to another world. Inside each lander was a tiny biological laboratory built to ask one terrifying question. Is anything alive in there? Levin's experiment was called labeled release. Its logic was brutally simple. Expose Martian soil to radioactive nutrients, then watch for gas. But there was a control. A second soil sample was baked to 160 degrees Celsius, hot enough to kill known organisms, before receiving the same treatment. If both samples reacted, it was probably chemistry. If only the fresh sample reacted, it looked like biology. And that is what happened. The fresh Martian soil released radioactive gas. The baked soil stayed silent. To Levin, this was not a hint. It was the result his experiment had been designed to find. Something in the Martian dirt had behaved like it was alive. But Viking carried another machine, the GCMS. Its job was to search for organic molecules, the carbon-based chemistry life leaves behind. And it found nothing. No organics, no carbon chains, no obvious fingerprint of biology. That contradiction changed everything. NASA concluded Levin had not found life. He had found chemistry, some unknown oxidant in Martian soil, reacting with the nutrients and mimicking a biological signal. Not microbes, not breathing, just dirt. The story moved on. Gilbert Levin did not. For decades, he argued that his experiment had passed its control. The fresh soil reacted. The heated soil did not. But without organics, most scientists would not accept life. Then, in 2008, NASA's Phoenix lander found perchlorates in Martian soil, reactive salts, common on Mars. And when heated, perchlorates can destroy organic molecules. That mattered because Viking's GCMS had heated the soil before searching for organics, which meant the instrument used to dismiss Levin's result may have burned away the very evidence it was looking for. Suddenly, the old argument had teeth. In 2019, at 95 years old, Levin published a final article titled, "I'm convinced we found evidence of life on Mars in 1976. He died in 2021, still convinced. NASA still calls it chemistry. Levin called it life. And the strangest part is what happened next. We kept going back to Mars. Curiosity, perseverance, Phoenix, spirit, opportunity. We searched for water, drilled rocks, studied minerals, and hunted for ancient environments where life might once have survived. But the only experiment that ever returned a positive signal for life on Mars was never repeated. Not once. Maybe Levin was wrong. Maybe the signal was just a strange Martian chemical reaction. Or maybe, on July 30th, 1976, Humanity briefly answered the oldest question we have ever asked. And then, we looked away. So, what do you think? Was Viking's signal just Martian chemistry, or did we find life in 1976 and fail to follow the evidence?